Alright, let's see. Alright guys, today I'm going to show you what a film camera, how it works, what it does, and unfortunately my cat's in the way. Over there, Rusty. And it's still a little cool out here right now, so I'm not going to spend all day doing this. Hopefully I can get this done in one take instead of multiple takes. If Mr. Cat here will cooperate with me. So we're going to start with showing you the camera itself. And I've actually checked to see if I can actually show you through the viewfinder. So let's get to that part here. And loosen up this bracket here. Now, my camera, I have a fitted case from the manufacturer originally. My mother and father bought this case for me for a Christmas present. I got the camera some time ago as a birthday present. And it's got an eye cup on it. This eye cup is a pain in the ass to work with. I'm going to remove that because it's not... So here you have your film advance, your frame number. There's film in here, so there's that the frame is ready to shoot. This is a combined shutter wheel, and this here is the speed used for setting the film. And I think it's supposed to be color film in here right now. That's why I set for 200 color plus on it probably, which is fine. This is the film rewind button. And this is the only button on the bottom here for rewinding the film. You press that in while you hit the rewind button. This is where the standard coin cell battery goes. It's a standard coin cell, it's nothing special, just G13. I wanted to show you what you see through the viewfinder. And the reason I wanted to do that was because some of you guys have never seen inside. Before I do that, let me just show you one more thing here. This is the F-ring for the apertures. This is your focus control. This is your depth of field control that tells you when it's going to be in focus. And this is the lens cap, and I got a polarizing filter underneath this, so I'm going to take this off. So you can just... okay. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like through the viewfinder. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to show you this, because everybody asked me what's it like to look in the viewfinder. And so it's going to be hard to see, but I'm going to try to get this thing up so you can see through the viewfinder of the camera. It's... There you can see the plus and minus control. That's regards the aperture. If I can get the camera to stay steady here. It's not exactly very comfortable sitting in the situation here. So I'm going to set the shutter speed to something which would be more reasonable for outdoors. Say, because where we are. Let me just tighten this bracket up here. Yes, this camera can be mounted on the same bracket as well. Unfortunately, it's not very stable, but okay. So I have it set for about a 60th of a second, and you can almost see when the needle goes up and down. See how it goes up and down like that? Theoretically speaking, when it's as close as you can between the two notches, it's pretty good. And that's actually right on the money right there. And it's set for about of a 60th of a second at about f5.6. And if you're like me, you're probably saying to yourself, how can that be? Well, a rule of thumb is that it's looking for neutral gray. And so you see, you probably can't see it, but there's a microprism in the center. There, you can see it. It's actually where the light meter is. So it was actually aiming right at that darker part of the wall. So think of that as the bullseye. Now, as long as it's in that focus, it's going to set it for neutral grayscale. Now, I mean, you can't see. I'm going to be pointing to the other thing right now. So let's see if I can show you what happens if I point it at the sheet. So if we can get this camera, you can see that it shows more light. Okay. This camera here has the ability to go up to 1,000th of a second. Okay. Oh, this is a very nice basic piece of kit. Like the Forest Hill Film Lab says, a quick rule of thumb is if you set your shutter close to the speed that you're shooting at in bright sun, you can easily, just like a simple Instamatic, but bright sunny day would be at f16, right there. And if it's a little overcast, you can go there and a little bit there. And what it is that's the way it works. Right now, I am in the shade. I am in the shade and the sun, and it's nighttime. That's why it's got such a large f-stop. Now, this lenses on these Canon cameras are nice because you can pop them out. And you can put another lens on. So you don't have to use the same bog standard lens. This Pentax lens here is designed to also work with the Pentax ME Super, which I don't have. I bought the lens long ago in the Caribbean. It's a wide angle, and it's been pretty resourceful. I got a circular polarizer on it as well. So the nice thing about this camera is it's not too fancy. It doesn't have any fancy computer controls in it. It doesn't doesn't use batteries for everything. It's just a light meter. So even if the light meter battery goes dead, it'll still work. In that case, you just use an external light meter, which I do have. I just don't have it out here right now. But anyway, show you what I'm talking about. I have a ghost and light meter. I'll show you that in another video. But basically, these cameras, this one is a metal body. The later Pentax K1000s that came out, this was a major seller, especially for students. They were using these metal covered plastic to keep the cost low. This is the last of the metal frame ones in the early 80s. This is a beast. Right now, I think I've got color film in here. Now, you're probably asking, okay, Michelle, you're legally blind. You want to take pictures. How do you do it? Well, we'll show you how I do it. First thing I do is let me put this camera back towards me. Even without my glasses on, I can do this. Remember, I already know what the exposure was as I showed you to the lens, but I can, assuming I don't know where I am or if it's really weird lighting, even without my glasses, I would just slowly turn the needle. It's easier to do with glasses, yeah, it's, of course, it's at 250th and we're at 125th. Alright, so that's a rule of thumb for me. When I say it says it's about f4 at 125th of a second with 200 ISO film. That's because the sun's going down soon. Okay, I'm just going to show you like. So let's see. Now I know it's f4. Now I already know. Let's say we want to take a picture of this whole porch. I can do is now I can double check my exposure. I mean, I always take pictures in the dark. Take a reading in the darkest part of the porch. Now, because color film is a little more latency than say things such as slide film, I can kind of cheat. Then I go f4. I could say I can set it for about anywhere from 7 feet to infinity. So then I would cock the shutter. And I think this thing's already set to go. No, I gotta re-advance it. Oh yeah, that's what I also don't usually do. I don't pre-advance the film before I'm ready to take the picture because it's gonna mess up. So I got the shutter set, compose it, click, done. And I think this is the last sort of Color Plus I got in here right now. one of the things with film is I can do the same shot with my camera, my film cam, my. Let's talk about holding a camera, and this applies to both digital and film based. Notice when I was holding it like this. I was holding the camera body like this. You would do the same thing with the phone, which obviously I don't have with me right now because my phone is obviously being used. So let's pretend this case is a hell of a fat iPhone. Okay, you would do the same thing. You would, even if you want to hold it this way, you hold it at distance. You're gonna have your two hands on the phone. Some people say, "Oh, hold it like this, all the way over here," and then you don't realize that indirectly you're doing this kind of a jiggle. If you are gonna have to hold it like that, make sure to hold it as steady as you can, because it'll be a lot lighter. I'll be about the weight of this case, okay? And then next thing we need to do is most phones, you don't have to worry about exposures and stuff. Usually the phone does it all. But what I would do is just make sure to hold the phone steady. If you can hold it with two hands, that's even better, especially if you're going to be doing moving shots like videos or even snaps. Just hold it steady, take your time and compose the shot. That will give you the best shot. Of course, with phones and with digital SLRs, the digital SLR would be held just like this camera would be. Let's put it back together here. You're gonna do the same thing. Is this? You want to hold it by both bodies to make sure that the camera is steady, or use a tripod. Especially tripod is if you are definitely thinking that you are going to have an issue with camera shake. Okay. Also, I would do is I would shoot no slower for a handheld shot than 60th of a second. If you're going to go slower than 60th of a second, that camera is going to show camera shake. One camera instructor I said is, if you're using a telephoto that can say go to 210 millimeter or zoom, I would definitely send that thing to at least no slower than 250 of a second. Which is ironic because the one zoom I have doesn't go any bigger than the f4 anyway. So in that case, you're going to seriously either A, going to want to use your tripod, or B, you're going to want to use the fastest film you can get. Such as 400 speed film is more than fine. That's what I would do. Now let's talk about the lens cap on this real quick. This camera, okay, I got a polarizer on it, but this camera, at least this camera lets me do this. This camera here has one problem. There is no on-off switch for the exposure meter. Theoretically speaking, even when the camera has been sitting in storage, the coin cell battery is still going to be making a very slight discharge because the CDS cell inside is going to actually still pass a very tiny amount of electricity to the meter. Now I've changed the battery on this one, but the original battery that was in it was still actually good. I just wanted to change it out to make sure I didn't have any nasty surprises. So I put in the new G13 battery and was all set to go. The one thing I discovered is that this lens cap does not tend to stay on very easily onto my camera. This one here has it doesn't have a replaceable diopter clip. Some of these do. No, you might be asking yourself, why would you want to use an eye cup? Well, one reason you might use an eye cup is if you're wearing eyeglasses and you want to make sure not to get too much extraneous stuff in way of your viewfinder. But I honestly found that you can't leave this eye cup on this camera body like this because the stupid thing will not allow my camera to close the case completely. And then I end up having to take the damn cup off. Or, of course, as I did already, I can just basically slide off this and put this in a safe place. But then I have to make sure not to lose the lens cap. I did that one time. I was on a cruise ship with my parents, and it was a different camera than this one. And I happened to have a lens cap like the original Pentax cap that used to just slip on. And the lens cap fell overboard of the cruise ship. It was just like a 15-cent lens cap. It was no big deal. The point is that my brother originally thought this case was supposed to pop off like a snap and didn't realize when he used the camera that wasn't the case. That's why this back in here is a little bit damaged, but it's still quite fine. Not everybody in my family is into photography. My aunt, Anne Marie, is into photography. She still does it. She is the older shutterbug in the house in my family. This is my father's sister. My father did some too. The camera here has been in service actively since I bought it. It has had a few years hiatus. The shutter, as far as I know, is still pretty much inaccurate. Is accurately still at time, based on the negatives I got back from the lab, and the ones I developed too were well within normal quality. But ideally, I should send this camera to a film camera tech, and have them go through it once over and check the rubberized focal plane to make sure that it's good, because it hasn't been abused or anything, but it's old. It's been around a long time, but it still works fine as a camera, so I don't really have a problem. You can get bodies like this on eBay. I've seen bodies like the Pentax k1000 bodies, varying in price from a wreck that needs repair to something that is almost factory new, old stock. And prices can vary from anywhere from like $20 up to like $300, which is actually pretty good considering this whole kit, brand new, with the 50mm 2.0 lens. At the time my dad bought me this for my birthday present, costed him about $120 at Caldors in Torrington, which is no longer there anymore. Lowe's is there now. The original Torrington Parkade was torn down and rebuilt into all Lowe's. This is one of those cameras that, as I said, brings back memories of my childhood, and this has been a very reliable piece of kit. I do want to get another body, only because then I can have one body with color film or slide film and one body with black and white film. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to explain that to you, and obviously I gotta take my sheet down. All right, the next thing we should do is, in another segment, is we're going to talk about composition. What makes a good picture? What makes a bad picture? How do you know when to take a good picture and when to take a bad picture? Well, here's a hint. We'll give you a pre-clue. Let's take a look at what I was looking at earlier. Now, you see that dark spot right there? Now, this has got a very wide angle lens, so unfortunately it's maybe a little hard to see. But you can see that was where that little box is where I was aiming the exposure meter to test was. That there is pretty dark. So one of the things that's great about color print film and color or monochrome or black and white print film is they have what they call wide exposure latitudes. So if you get something that's too bright and too dark, and this is a perfect shot for that. Even this camera here is compensating for that white and dark shot. Oh, there's another test shot. Hi, cat. Yeah, Rusty the cat. Yeah, he would be hard to shoot. If I set the exposure meter, remember I told you exposure meter is set for neutral gray. So this sheet would actually, if I was to shoot these film, they would look kind of dingy, but they're really white. And the exposure meter. So if you want to get those sheets to look whiter like they really would look, you have to open up about one stop. For this cat, he's kind of dark. If I actually shot the picture with an exposure meter as he is now in this current lighting, it would actually look too. He would be overexposed and be a little lighter gray, and the backgrounds would be blown out. But if I wanted to try to get the background right, given what the needle would be pointing right here to the center of right where his chest is, which is the darkest spot, I would have to actually bring the stop down by about 1 to 2 stops. That's what we would do in film, something called bracketing exposures. Please understand, one thing about photographers is they will sometimes shoot, if it's a really special shot, they will use the same shot multiple times in bracket exposures. That is, they might show one shot with 2 stops over, 1 step over, what the camera reader says, 1 step under and 2 steps under, especially for slide film, because you want to get just the rate of exposure to make sure that your picture is well lit, and that's why we do that. So not all negatives on a roll of film or pictures on a roll of film are exactly something you want to print in your darkroom. However, sometimes you might find out that depending on the kind of film you have, the exposure latitude is such that you got enough leeway, especially as I said with black and white and color print film, that you are absolutely going to have little problem with that. However, if you are actually going to deal with things such as the new Chrome E100D, you're going to have to deal with the fact that slide film has very, very little room for error in latitude, but it's got fantastic grain and picture if you can get the shot perfect. Unfortunately, one thing about color film, maybe slide or print, is what they call color temperature of your picture is going to be important. Now, this is daylight outside, so because of that, the camera, even this camera, this phone is set the same way. It's really set specifically for daylight shot. But if I was to shoot and set this camera into a manual exposure, you would notice that the pictures, the color temperature is wrong for the film, white balance. It's gonna look, if this is tungsten-based film in here, and I was actually shooting this, and on daylight, everything would look extra blue. And if I was using daylight film indoors, everything looks extra yellow. My thumbnail on one of my was actually shot on my iPhone 4S, which does not really seem to have very good white balance under tungsten. And for that camera, I can put an 80B filter on it, and it over the lens, and then makes it into a daylight picture, and then the camera can shoot the picture properly. This camera seems to have a little bit better white balance control than that one does. So, I hope that this gives you an idea of something about my equipment that I use for photography. It's not the only camera I have, but I didn't want to lug out my big Bell & Howell 16mm camera, because that's a movie camera, and that's going to be in a whole nother kettle of fish, because I have not shot movie film in a long time, so because it's too expensive. But for now, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.